Good evening. I am Alyssa Taylor Stewart, Administrator in the Office of Equity, Engagement, and Partnerships, and I would like to welcome you to our Parent University workshop tonight. Tonight, our presenters will review helpful tools and best practices for parents and caregivers as they interact with Canvas, ParentView, and our district website. Additionally, our team from Student Support Services are here to present information about our family resource centers. These presentations will offer tips and strategies for families to help their students succeed, not just academically, but also social and emotionally. We invite you to join the conversation. To share questions or comments, please access the link in the description underneath the video. Thank you, and now I'd like to introduce Rebecca Fast, our Parent University TOSA. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, Alyssa. Thank you so much. Hi, Long Beach community. My name is Rebecca Fast. I am a teacher on special assignment in the Office of Equity, Access, and Partnerships. And I'm excited to be with you here today working in Parent University. And I'm going to be sharing with you some academic tips we start this school year. Just some tips for parents as we get kind of going on some things. You might hear these things like Canvas and ParentView. I'm just here to give a few tips of how to navigate through those. So I'm just going to share my screen really fast here. Before we pass it over to our team members at the FRC. Okay, here we go. Okay, so again, my name is Rebecca Fast and I work in Parent University. By the end of this workshop here, or by the end of my part, I'm hoping that parents will have a better understanding of Canvas, how to best utilize Canvas and maybe change some of those settings to more accommodate your family needs, how to update and access ParentView, and then how to navigate the LBUSD website. So I'm actually going to start with navigating that website, if I can get my screen to advance here. Okay, it's not going forward. And okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with navigating our Long Beach Unified website. You know, a lot of parents have questions, and a lot of those questions can be answered right on our Long Beach Unified website at lbschools.net. You can see not only this year's Learning and Acceleration Plan, what Long Beach's plan is to help recover from the last 18 months of pandemic learning, but you can find information about the College Promise, about Measure E updates, COVID resources, but also get information about our social media accounts, curriculum resources, and School Finder. So I'm just going to go ahead for some reason. I apologize. Here we go. Let's get into it. Here's our district website. This is accessed at lbschools.net. And when you log on, you'll always see a hot topic story. So here we have our Teacher of the Year highlighted on the front page. Up at the top, though, there's a lot of buttons and there's a lot of information that might go unnoticed. So if you could start at the very top here, here is where you can get to Long Beach Unified's Twitter account, our Facebook account, our YouTube, which is where you all are accessing and joining us here today. You can get to our Instagram accounts. You can also get to a few other, our social media, some of our podcasts. And if you click on this one here, this is Peachtree. Some of you might receive emails from Peachtree, and that's coming from also Long Beach Unified. When you get a Peachtree email, Peachtree is a way, if you remember back in the day, we used to get letters in our kids' backpacks from all kinds of outside organizations and community organizations. Now we have Peachtree, and Peachtree is where families can access those digital resources. It's getting digital flyers. And if you click on that peach button at the top of our district website, here are all the flyers that have been sent back in the last year or so. So when you get an email from Peachtree, those are just community resources, kind of like old backpack letters. And so that's that peach that you see right here at the top. Our social media account is really engaging. It's updated all the time. So I encourage you to check out those social media accounts at the top if you don't already have them pinned in your phone. Again, at the top, there's some really great buttons up here that can maybe go unnoticed. So there's an A to Z index where you can kind of find everything, or that if you want to, alphabetically. So you can look for things through the A through Z index. I'll go back to the front there. You can find our offices, so the Board of Education, the Superintendent's Office, and then grade level offices, and so on. So all of our different main departments are here. Schools, a school finder. So say, for example, you have an elementary school student and you're not quite sure what is your home resident middle school, or same for a high school, you can go on and see what would be your home school of residence. meal plans and meal menus if you want to keep up to what's happening, what's for breakfast tomorrow, and also accountability and testing schedules. So all that is right here. For students, this is a great way if they're working remotely, they can access their Canvas, their student view, and parents as well. I direct a lot of parents here in my capacity in my work with Parent University. It's a great way for parents just to quickly get to Canvas, quickly get to Parent View, quickly get to School Messenger app. I have a lot of friends who are asking me, how do I change the settings on School Messenger? When a message comes in, I get it on my phone, I get it on my email. I just want it in one source. Well, you can change all of that right here in this School Messenger app. And then for employees to have some quick tabs. So lots of things up here that look really inconspicuous, but can really be helpful. Lots of buttons down here. I'm going to highlight our Parent University button because that's what I'm about here today. Right on that front page, you can access Parent University. When you get to Parent University, you can see a calendar of all the different parent groups meetings that we have. So we have parent groups here. The Zoom links will be here. So if you're curious what's happening in our district with parent groups and what's happening with our parent workshops, you can always check our website here. And if there was a workshop that we offered last year or last semester, all of our workshops are housed on our Parent University YouTube channel. So lots of great resources here. Okay. That's a little bit of our district website. Oh, there's one more thing. I'm going to go back to that because I neglected. There's one thing I wanted to point out, and it's under, I'm just going to go through the A through Z index. Say, for example, my student is really struggling in math. So I'm going to go to the M for math, and I'm going to pull up the mathematics department. Sometimes when you try to help your student on any resource, you might Google, and then when you Google, you're going to get all kinds of resources. But our curriculum leaders and our curriculum specialists have really found really tight and really good resources. And so if you go to this resource page here, this is math, but you could do the same for history, you could do the same for English language arts or technology. They have a button called Family Resources. And when you click on Family Resources, there's so many great tips and tricks here for parents. There's great places to go if you need to help your student with a specific grade level of math. There's even things here for bedtime daily math problem. I love that. We always think of reading our kids a nighttime story, but how about a nighttime math problem? That's by grade level. These videos are really helpful to understand Common Core. Our kids aren't doing math the way we did math. So here's some great videos explaining why and how our students are doing this new style Common Core math. But also the textbooks. So if your student is working remotely, or maybe they're at grandma's house and they don't have access to their textbook, on that family resource page, you can get digital copies of the textbooks. So I just wanted to point that out because, again, our curriculum leaders have really placed a lot of great helpful resources on each of those curriculum pages. And again, we have so much information on our district website. Sometimes some of those little tips and tricks can go unnoticed. So that's our district website. The next thing I want to speak to you quickly about is our Parent View. Now, Parent View, we've engaged a lot with Parent View if you're not new to the district. Last year, we all had to engage in Parent View to do how we were coming back to school. I know Parent View used to be only used sometimes in the summer to find out who your student's teacher was going to be in the fall, but it seems as if we're engaging more and more each year with Parent View. And so I just, again, wanted to point out some of the things that you can do in Parent View. When you think of Parent View, think of it as our district's folder on your student. And so it's everything that our district may have on your student, from emergency contacts to their grades since kindergarten. You can go back and see their progress on district tests, on math facts. Everything your student has done is housed almost in that student file, like that picture there, in Parent View. And again, to access Parent View, you can go straight to that front page, to that tab, to that Parent View login. There's also an app. So if it's easier for you to be on the phone, there is a free app that you can download from your app store or however you access your apps. A couple, again, some tips and tricks for Parent View. When you log into Parent View, you should see all of your students at the top. You shouldn't have a different Parent View account for all of your students. So when you go to this little arrow here and you do that pull down menu, you should be able to see all of your students in one place. And if you don't, then you could check in with your school secretary, and someone at your school site should be able to help you to put all of your students onto one site, because we see that sometimes in our office. Sometimes parents have all these different accounts, and we try to help them put them all into one place. You can update your student information. And so here you should see all your students. And I know sometimes emergency contacts change, phone numbers change. And so you might want to do an update. And so we're going to watch a short video on how you can update your student view. Oh, we were going to watch that short video. Let me click that link again. Let me try that again.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help.
Okay.
This sentence is grammatically correct.
There we go. Okay.
Parent View Annual Verification Registration. It is very important to have correct, up-to-date information for every student in LBUSD. To ensure the school has updated information, a new online process has been developed that offers a quicker, more efficient way of processing updates. Follow the directions below to verify and/or edit student and family information for every student. Step 1. Log into Parent View. Go to lbschools.net, hover over Parents, and select Parent View Login. If you do not have a Parent View account, please contact your school for an activation key. Step 2. You will now have the option to update your students' information via the Online Registration tab in Parent View. This method will allow for nearly instant processing results, with the exception of address changes. Step 3. To verify information for currently enrolled students, select 2021-2022 Annual Student Verification Registration. Then click on Begin New Registration. Step 4, click Continue. To make changes, first type in your electronic signature, then click Save and Continue. Step 5, verify your address. If your home address has changed, check the box, then enter your new address. Proof of residence documents are required for any home address changes. Step 6, when you arrive at the military status questionnaire, if the parent is not in the military, enter the current date and select N/not in military. Step 7, on the parent guardian screen, if multiple parents live at the same address, then both parents will need to be updated. As shown in the example below, the mother has been updated and therefore displays as complete. The father has not been updated, so he is displayed as not complete. To complete the father's account, click on the Edit button and verify all screens. Step 8, verify, update, or add new emergency contacts. Step 9, verify or update all current students. Set up your emergency contact order. And fill out the district release forms. Step 10, once all students are verified, click on Review. Step 11, review all information and select the checkbox at the bottom of the screen, then click Submit. Step 12, home address changes will need to be reviewed by the school, but all other changes will update within a few minutes. You can visit the status of your submission or make further updates at any time by clicking on the Online Registration button in Parent View. For questions or more information, please contact your local school for assistance.
Okay.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have.
Forgot to turn off our Parent View video there. Okay. So Parent View updates. I know back when I was in the classroom, parents would have to fill out a whole bunch of papers every year. Now it's a few clicks, a few steps, but it's a quick way to update all of your emergency contacts and make sure everything is current and up to date in our school file. I'm just going to share a couple other things about Parent View. A lot of parents might not be familiar with School of Choice or School Messenger, but here's something I'm going to encourage all families to look at, and it's this click here to access button. It's under Assessments and More. Under Assessments and More, that more is really misleading to me because It should say assessments and all kinds of really cool and important things, because when you click on that assessments and more button, a lot of information is there that I believe is really helpful to parents. So once you get assessments and more, and then you click here to access, it's going to take you to, again, remember how I said this is kind of like Long Beach Unified's file on your student. Here are all the things that you have access to. You have access to, again, their achievement reports going back to kindergarten. You have access to SBAC scores if your students are old enough to have taken the SBAC. They have language surveys, career interest surveys that are on the core survey that our students take every year, social emotional learning surveys that your student has taken, an unofficial student transcript is here. All of this information, course history, GPA. There's so many different things that you can do in Parent View. You can add money to their meal plans. There's just a lot of great information on your student. So I really encourage you to kind of follow Parent View, keep up to date with Parent View. It's a really good way to gauge your student. And again, this is their full academic record. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to Canvas. What's the difference between Parent View and Canvas? Canvas is more of your students' daily academic records. So their teacher this year and maybe an assignment that they have tonight for homework. Now, please keep in mind, Canvas is really used in our middle and high schools. In elementary schools, especially if you have a kindergartner, a first grader, or a second grader, your teacher may not be using Canvas much at all, especially at this beginning time of the year. So for this part, I might be speaking more toward the older parents of students who are in middle school and high school, because if you have a middle schooler or a high schooler, Canvas is, like I said, it's their homework assignment tonight. It's how they're doing in class right now. And so if you have Canvas and access to Canvas, this was the learning management system that Long Beach Unified adopted last year, and we are continuing with it. And here's kind of the technical term. It's a set of digital learning environments, supports high quality engagement, collaboration, and feedback between teachers. What does that mean? That just really means that it's your students' assignments, it's grade books, it's teacher announcements, it's communication between students, parents, and teachers. So as I said, we adopted it during last year during the pandemic, but we're continuing it this year because it's proven to be a really interactive, very robust set of tools for our students and for our teachers and for families. And so a typical elementary student's page would look like this. When a student would log in, they will see maybe just their one teacher. If you have a middle schooler or a high schooler, you'll see all of their teachers. So this is what a sample middle school or high school students would look like, period 1, period 2, and so on. Okay. On every page 2, there is a to-do list. As a parent myself, I have 2 high schoolers. This is a really important one for me. I kind of, when I see my kids just laying on the couch a bit too long or too much, I look to their Canvas page and say, do you have anything coming up? Is there anything that you can be working on? So there's always a to-do list, whether it's an elementary or high schooler. There's recent feedback. So if a teacher has recently graded something, that too can be found on Canvas. If you paired with your student last year, you are all set. If you paired with your student last year, then when you open up your parent Canvas, you should see everything already automatically uploaded. You don't have to do anything this year. If you haven't uploaded, if you didn't pair with your student last year, or if you're new to Long Beach Unified, you'll need to pair, or you can pair and have a parent account. And so you'll need to get a pairing code into your student's account. So I'm going to walk you through how you get that pairing code. With your students, so I would have your student sitting right with you, go into your student's Canvas, click on account, and go into their settings. And when you go into their settings, you're going to find that button that says pair with an observer. Now, if you're watching this at home and you're taking notes, you don't have to worry about this. These are all in some links that I have available for you. So you don't have to be writing this all down. I'm just going to kind of visually show you where to find everything. You're going to click pair with an observer, and you'll get that unique code. If you have a lot of students, I would definitely do this all at the same time, have them all log into their Canvas and get those unique codes so you can enter them all at once. Before logging in to Canvas, here's where it can get a little tricky, and it got a little tricky last year when you have more than one person using the same computer. At our house, we only have one computer, and sometimes my students will log on and then I quickly jump on. But computers, and I'm not a tech expert, so I'm not going to be using the perfect language here, but your computer tends to remember the same Google user. And so sometimes if you're having a hard time switching between a student Canvas account or a parent Canvas account, you need to go into the settings up here and you need to add another account. And you go to that little waffle button up here in the top corner and just add a student. So if your Betty's student is already in the account, just click add another user and then the parent can log on. That's just a little tech tip that we discovered in my house after many painful tries of why isn't it letting me log in, kind of tears and problems. So once you log in, again, as a parent, you can go into that LB Schools homepage. You can find Canvas. You can log in as a parent. And here's where you go and you click here for an account. You enter your name, enter all your information. You enter that pairing code and you click participating and you're in. And so now you have your own Canvas account for parents. And so it can be really that quick and that simple. If you have more than one student, you can go into observing and you can add more codes. And so when I log in, I see all of these tiles. I see both of my kids' tiles entered on Canvas. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead here on to something that may be, especially if you're new, Canvas is very communicative. They send a lot of emails. At the beginning, I think I was getting 50 emails a week from Canvas. And so I needed to slow that down. So one thing I would recommend that you do if you haven't done it yet is to go into your settings and you can change some of your settings. So you can change the language settings. You can change notifications. And so here you'll see that you can get a notification right away. You can get a daily summary. You can get weekly summaries, or you can say, don't send me anything, right? Depending on how you want to receive, maybe you want to log into Canvas when you want to log in. However you feel you need to get your communication, you can check that here. And then for all of these, you can check how often, or you can turn them off. So the green X is turned off. I only want to get an email when something's been graded. And so I've turned almost everything off except for those. And so you can change your notifications to how best suits you. In Canvas, you can view grades. Here's a tip too. They are going to be in an alphabetical order, or I'm going to be honest, it's kind of a random order. I still haven't figured this part of Canvas out yet. When you click on grades, it doesn't do it by student. It doesn't do it in any seamless order, but it's just going to list all the grades. And what you might want to do when you look at a list of grades like this is say, okay, they're doing okay, but maybe I want to look in on those 60%. Maybe you want to hone in on those grades there. And so you can click on the grade for that, and it'll take you to this page where it will have each assignment title, and then it will have the score on the assignment. So you can sit down with your student, or you can peruse this on your own, and you can look at all of the different grades. Please note that some classes do have weighted grades. Sometimes, especially at the beginning year, there's not very many grades in the grade book. So parents, we need to remember that. Remember, it's a long semester, and our kids are going to have a long time to bring those grades up or down. You know, the grades go through January. So sometimes we just need to hold tight, but we also need to remember that grade categories can weight things differently. Homework typically is only worth 10% of the grade. Sometimes tests or quizzes have a larger chunk of that grade. So you need to keep that in mind when looking at totals and grades, right? We need to keep in mind, so say your student is doing all their homework, but maybe they don't do well on a test. Maybe that's a conversation you need to have and say, are you doing your best on your homework? Is there something in the homework you're not understanding? Because why isn't it translating to your test, or vice versa? So keeping in mind that to really dig into those grades when we have a concern, and those are great teacher questions too. If you're having concern about a grade, you can say, I notice he's not doing well on tests. What can we do about that, or what can we work on? If anything with Canvas, there are a lot of helpful sites out there. I have one linked right below our YouTube our YouTube presentation tonight. Right underneath the link here is a Canvas guide for parents. So all of this can be found there. There's also a great question button. So if you ever have questions about Canvas, there's that tool right there that you can click on, and there's all kinds of resources in many different languages for parents to access for Canvas. Okay, that was a lot, I feel. There's an app also for Canvas. So if you don't want to go through the desktop, you can also have it right here on your phone, so you can have access to their grades or messages at your earliest convenience. So there's also a Canvas app. I took a picture of this so you can see the color. I think the student one is red, the parent Canvas is blue, and then there's a teacher app too that's in yellow. So make sure you download the correct one if you're going to do the app route. Okay. I think that's all I have. Here's more links. This presentation is also linked down below, and I've put some links that might be helpful for families here. I did the academic part, right? So as we're getting off to school here, some things about navigating our website, updating your parent views, some tips on Canvas, how to set up your Canvas. But we know that there's a lot more to having our students have a successful year. There's a lot more than just all this academic. We have the social and emotional needs of our kids too.